Today on Turbo Tortoise Tech, I'm going to teach you something my dad taught me when I was 9. That's how to build a PC. Good afternoon, welcome to Turbo Tortoise Tech. If you're new here, I'm Reese of the 4-piece warranty or Wooks Triple XL, and I've tried to match component for component here to get to the price of a PS5, and hopefully obviously with more flexibility, because with a modular system like a PC, you can always upgrade when it's convenient to do. So these are our selected components over here. You can get some cheaper alternatives, but I didn't really want to skimp on PSU or case, because those will be with you for quite some time. If they are well spec'd, you can use them for your current build and probably your next one. So you're probably going to look at like a 7 to 8 year kind of lifetime for those. So we went up a little bit on that spec, and yes, you can get away with a little bit more entry-level componentry there, but as I've just explained to you, it's not really worth it. Anywho, let's get to building. Let's get it. Well, actually, before we do, there are a couple of little tools and stuff you're going to need. Basically, this should be all you need. It's just a good star screwdriver, preferably magnetized as well, which is going to help out a lot, as you'll see when we get into the build. But if you do have one of these on hand as well, just a little pair of side cutters, this will be quite useful. A paintbrush just to clean stuff off as you're busy with it. You might not need this in general, maybe only with an older machine. And then, always my favorite is a microfiber cloth. These two are kind of optional, especially with newer components. Now, let's get into a closer shot so we can get that build underway. Alrighty, so this is what we're going to start off with. When you get your upgrade kits, some of them come with OEM or tray CPUs like that. If I can just get it in front of camera for you, there you go. It's just going to come in its little container. You still get your sticker, which is always nice. But here we have a little Ryzen 5 5500, nice, cheap and cheerful little CPU over there. And then the most important bit of any build pretty much is over here with the motherboard. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to mount the CPU to this sucker and the NVMe, because these are components that don't interfere with us at any other stage of the build. They're not really going to bump into any other components, and they're generally the more expensive ones. In this instance, I'm going to have to move this little bracket over here, because this is at 110. I'm going to need it to move it over here to 80. It should be, I should be able to unscrew it with a screwdriver. There we go. Just move that sucker up into the correct position over there, so we can get the SSD mounted. Boom, simple as that. And then there should be a screw that goes in the top of that, which I'll probably provide in the extras over here. We won't be needing any SATA cables because this machine only has an NVMe. We are going to need our back plate. And you just, here we go, there's the M.2 screw. It usually comes like this in its own little pack, so just watch out for that. And don't lose it, because I know some people that have done as much and it hasn't gone well for them. So yeah, we're starting off with the CPU, and we're going to mount the cooler as well, and I'll explain it right after I'm done. Okay, so I just moved the camera a little bit closer just so you can see. Now the alignment over there, you can see, is perfect. Just check it before you install it, depending on your SSD. But most NVMe's are 80s, so it should be part and parcel. I do have to use a slightly different screwdriver, because the little screw that holds it in place is very small, and I don't want to break it, or strip the head, or thread the or strip the thread itself as well. So, and we just want to get it just tight enough that it's holding it in place. You don't have to kill it. It doesn't have to be like, and you absolutely destroy its face. Now for our cooler, in this instance, we're going to have to remove the plastic bracket, because as you can see, it's got screws on all 4 corners. So we're going to have to remove this bracket in order for it to sit on top like that. And you'll also notice that the thermal paste is pre-applied on there, so we don't need to worry about any thermal paste. Now, when you're orientating your cooler, The direction doesn't really matter. You can have it either like that or like that. In this instance, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to opt to go for this angle just because I want to be able to manage this cable a little bit better into the actual connector over there so that it's at a nice angle. I couldn't quite reach if I wrapped it around like that. You see it's not going to reach over there, which is less than ideal. So we rather keep it to this kind of orientation, and then when it's in the build it'll actually look quite nice as well. Now when you fasten the cooler down, don't go all the way in on each side. Just make sure the opposing corners are catching, that they are making good contact like that. Then tighten these two up first, so that whichever side, it doesn't matter if it's that side or that side like that, just the juxtaposed or opposing corners need to be done first so that the cooler sits straight on the actual CPU, and then you can go to the one across from that one and then down to the bottom left corner afterwards. Alrighty, there we go. And once again, just tight enough so that so it's getting hard to screw. You don't have to absolutely kill it, because then you're going to damage the top of the CPU as well. So don't do that. Don't damage your processor, because that is your thinking brain part. And there, as you can see, we've got a bit of extra cable over here. You can tuck it in by the screws over there. If your motherboard has heat sinks or something to that effect, you could tuck it underneath like that if it's got a heatsink kind of bracket over there. And I'm still going to try for it and just get it down like that. There we go. So now it looks nice and neat. Now the point of doing this first is now I have something to hold the motherboard by. You can do this with any motherboard, pretty much any size type of cooler, especially if it's a tower or an air cooler, then you've got something to manage it. Now we're going to put it straight into the case from here. Okay, so phase one of mounting case, obviously empty right now, is to put in the back plate over here. So you see where my finger's coming through over there? You're going to want to be putting in your back plate first. So you make sure that it's covering up the holes around the ports. That's just for your safety, as well as perhaps a little anti-dust would be nice, right? So pop this sucker in. This is what it'll look like. Some of the boards have it pre-mounted, but this is what it'll look like over here. And you can see it's got like a ring around the outside. That's so when you put it in, that it actually just sits in place over there. One thing I would say with these as well is you'll see these little like tabs over here that sit over there. I can just get it to focus on that. There we go. You see that tab over there? These things can be very annoying. So what I would say is just make sure that they are bent up kind of out of the way somewhat, just so that they don't get stuck and fold back in on themselves, because that's going to suck. Okay, like I said, look, we grab the motherboard, somewhat like that, by the cooler, and now it's so easy to get it into the correct position. Most cases as well, the standoffs should be in the correct default position. I don't know if you can see them over there. I'm just going to try and get you a shot of that. Actually, it's right there. There's a motherboard standoff. So these little standoffs, they should give you a pack of screws with your case. Now look in the basement over here. There it is here. And then inside this little pack of screws that you find over there, you're going to find more standoffs if there aren't sufficient ones for your build. Now, one of my, I'll say, clever little tricks is I keep a cigarette tin like this around. And then because I deal with so many PCs and builds, I don't always know which screws are supposed to go with which build unless I just keep them separately in their own little tray, which is very convenient. You don't obviously need that, just grab a Tupperware or something. You can just put your screws in for the time being, and then when you're done, you can just throw them back in the plastic bag. Now, if you aren't sure which screws to use with the standoffs, these little ones with the smallest thread, and they have like a built-in washer on the back of them, are generally the ones that are going to be used for standoffs. But if you're not sure, like I said, they will give you spares of the standoffs. So just grab one and try and check the thread before you get stuck and you cross threads and stuff, but just have a check. to see if it's going to work or not beforehand. Okay, now the motherboard is in, as you can see, and all 6 of the standoffs are put in. Make sure you do them, because it actually makes quite a difference to the structural integrity of your build. I had a friend that would put in half the screws like a clown, and he broke his motherboard. Then yeah, if you don't want to do that, then don't do that. But there we go, motherboard is mounted. Now we take the RAM and we put it in. And when you're putting in RAM, it's very simple and straightforward, because there's a key over there, so it can only go in one way. You just check the lineup for that key and then push in on both sides, like both corners, as I'll show you now, just firmly down like that. Click, and you're done. Make sure that these tabs are open when you do that. But yeah, just push down on the other side like that. Boom, Bob's your uncle. Okay, now once we're at this position here, we've already built like 60% of the machine. So now is when we do wiring, and we make sure that, for instance, I know with MSI motherboards, the JFP1 over here is the jumper pin set. So on the bottom corner over here in this area, and that's going to be the set for the power and stuff. I've used the motherboards enough to memorize it, but you've got your USBs over here and your audio on this side, and then the front jack stuff that connects to there. It's all keyed. So if I show you what I mean by that, let me just actually grab them. We actually do this bit, hey, that's actually not a bad angle, so I'm gonna cap. We actually do this bit standing up, like I have the machine like in the center here like this, so that I can just lean it and check what I'm trying to connect, pick a hole for it to come through from the back over there, so you can see those holes over there. So for instance, I'm gonna put the power and the reset switches and stuff through here, just to make it look a little bit neater as well. Same thing with the USB, I'm gonna go for here, and the audio I'm also gonna go for over there. But if you notice, on these connectors, so I'll just use the USB and the audio as an example and put them right in front of the camera. Let's wait for it to do a little bit of a focus over there for us onto these two. Will it? Come on, focus here, focus here. Give me a front side focus. Come on, I believe in you. I believe in the heart of the cards. Anyway, they are on each of these, they have a pin out. So there's a pin that's blocked, so you physically can't insert it into the wrong slot. And yeah, don't shove it. Make sure that always that we firm but gentle at the same time. But yeah, back in the day, we didn't have these. And if you connected the DC stuff incorrectly, direct voltage or direct current stuff, which is basically all PC, then yeah, you would cause a small fire and have an explosion. So at this point, I've run into a little bit of a problem with the fans, because the only fan header spare that's not for CPU is all the way over here. I was hoping for something on this side of the motherboard, but unfortunately, alas alack, we're still going to make a plan. Luckily, Deepcore's daisy chained, or made it possible to daisy chain all 4 into the side of here. And I've just got a bit of spare cable over here that I'm going to deal with later by cable tying it with the 4-pin power. That's still got to go in the top left-hand corner over that side. So there's still got to be a 4-pin power. But at this stage, with all the audio, USB, everything connected, and the power connectors all done, now we head on to the power supply. And all we need to really connect in this machine is the 24-pin over here, the 4-pin over here for the CPU, and I'm going to leave 2 PCI Express connectors coming through probably about here, or maybe at the bottom over here for our GPU. Now inside of your power supply box, there should be provided screws. Make sure you use these. Even though some of the other screws might have matched threads, the length of these is very specific to the particular power supply, because if it goes too far in, you're suddenly causing a short, and then once again, kaboom. Alrighty, and there we have basically a fully built PC. Everything that you need is in. We just need to connect the GPU. As I said, we've left these over here so we can connect these up. They do have a daisy chain on these. However, I have found sometimes the GPUs don't like it when there's one cable. There's just not enough current that comes through from them, so we're going to just use both. We have them, so rather use them in this kind of way and cable tie these back down so that they look neat. Don't use the one on this end, rather use the daisy chain, the middle piece, just so that you can cable tie that to itself so that it'll look neat when the GPU is in position over there. But this is where you should be. 24 pin should be connected. CPU power comes in from the top left over there, like I said, and now we're ready just to throw in the GPU, and that's basically the build completed. Now when you take out GPU, make sure as well that you remove every single piece of plastic from it. Do not leave these on because it's going to cause insulation, it's going to make it worse. And you can see, for instance, with these, there's a tab as an example with these. So make sure you get all of these off, please. I'm not going to cap, this GPU had a lot of plastic on it, which is cool because it does look very fresh. It is, I got to say, quite a nice first time with this particular model in my hands. And I got to say, it does look quite nice, but backplate and everything. That is actually the GPU. The rest of this is just heatsink. They may have overkilled it slightly, but we pro that because better cooling means better longevity. And in this instance, as I look here, I got to break out 2 from this case, so it's quite easy to line it up. Just take your screwdriver and check, like, okay, so it's not the very top one, it's the next 2, so it's 2 and 3 in this instance. Okay, when you put in a graphics card, just be aware that there is a little pin over here, a little like key that holds it in slot over there at the back. So just make sure that is open when you go in to mount the GPU. And then as long as your PCI Express slot stuff is out of the way and lining up, it's as easy as putting, well, you put the front in first. So you make sure that this piece over here that sits in the PCI Express slot is gonna go in first, and then you put the back down basically after the fact. Alrighty, now that the GPU is mounted, we just got to connect these 2 in. When you are connecting these up, just make sure that there's enough cable so that it's loose over there. I'm just gonna kind of yank it through, which is not ideal right now, but there we go. When you put it in, just make sure that the cable is kind of loose so that it's not pulling down on the GPU. I've seen some, let's call them questionable builds, where people put it from the top to pull up like that, but all it's going to do is damage the PCB over here. It's not designed to do that. If you want to sag bracket it, get something that holds up on the back. You can put something in between there and there rather than pull on this side upwards, because it's not designed to do that, and you're actually just going to end up damaging these ports over here. And there we have a complete PC. As you can see over there, it is a complete computer. But now before we tidy these guys up, for instance, and cable tie them back so they look nice like that, or do anything further, we got to put power and make sure that it works, because if you have to uncable tie anything and do it again, you're going to be kind of irritated. It's alive! It's alive! We've got GPU fans spinning, we've got all of these fans are spinning and lighting up, and everything's doing exactly what I was hoping it was going to do. So now we head to cleaning up cables and cable tying. Once again, guys, don't strangle it. I see a lot of people, they'll take like a really big cable tie as well, like one of these that are quite thick, and they absolutely strap the thing like it's supposed to survive a trip on the back of a bucky that's been strapped down so hard. So don't overkill it with these either. But there, now we know that all of these components are working. I'm happy to start cable tying and neatening it up. And there you have one nice neat little build over here. It does look quite sexy, if I do say so myself. I particularly like this kind of style with the PCI Express cables, because they look like cable extender ribbon cables, kind of nice and neatly coming out of there. Yeah, we like it. Nice and neat. Airflow is not going to be hampered. Look, if your cabling is not perfect, don't worry about it. As long as the main areas in front of the fans are open like this, you're going to get all the airflow you need. So join me on Thursday for the benchmark results of this. I'm going to go and install some operating system on this, and then we will see how this A580 gets down. I'm quite excited to see what it can do with regard to DirectX 12 gaming. Anywho, if you've enjoyed this build guide, please do hit us up with a like and subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side.